Okay, everybody, today's mini lesson is on los números 0 a 30, the numbers 0 to 30. If you look at the left column, we're going to see the numbers in the single digits up to 10. Middle column is our teens up to 20. And the right column is our 20s up to 30. The reason I divide it up is this way so you can see some patterns starting to merge. Let's do the list one time, just so you can kind of hear what they sound like. Practice pronunciation with me. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. At first, you hopefully see some observations, like for example, in the top column, uno, once, and we see a repeat of the word uno here. Dos, doce, dos here. So we can see that this says 1, 11, and 20 and 1, 2, 12, 20 and 2, 3, 13, 20 and 3, 4, 14, 20 and 4, 5, 15, 20 and 5. And then we can see once we get into the 16 numbers, we have 6, 10 and 6, 20 and 6, 7, 10 and 7, 20 and 7, 8, 10 and 8, 20 and 8, 9, 10 and 9, 20 and 9. And then, of course, 10, 20, 30 all have their own forms. But we can even see a repeat of the tres and the trece that we've seen before for the 3. So as you look at this pattern, I've chosen the number 16 and the number 22 to show you a breakdown of what's happened in this compound word. Diez is equal to 10. And so when we're saying 16, it's literally 10 and 6. But it becomes a compound word of dieciséis. And because it is a compound word, it requires an accent mark on that form. You'll see that on the number 16, the number 22, 23, and 26. None of the others require an accent mark. Let's look at 22. 20. We're going to combine 20 y dos to become 22. So our written form should look like what we see here, 16 and 22. This is how we're getting that, but this is what we eventually will say and write. So I'm going to go through these numbers. There's a series. You try to say them before I do. Ready, go. 15, 12, 27, 6, 17, 23, 19, 25, 29, 30, 11, 10, 18, 22, 24, 3, 13, 17, 27, 5, 2, 16. Okay, let's look at a couple of things that these are very practical for. Los meses del año. This is intro. You will see this again in Spanish too. But what's important is we can see that the months are cognates. Many of them look similar to what we see in English. So for pronunciation, we could just go in through and say enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. Notice too that the months are not capitalized in Spanish, unlike their English counterparts. Some really important questions that we could use to put these numbers into practice would be questions like, ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? What's today's date? ¿Cuál es la fecha de mañana? What's tomorrow's date? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? When's your birthday? And to give the answer in Spanish, what we'll say is, today is the number of the month. So for example, for the question, ¿cuál es la fecha de hoy? You might say, hoy es el 8 de enero. ¿Cuál es la fecha de mañana? Well, if hoy es el 8, mañana es el 9 de enero. ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? Mi cumpleaños es el 22 de noviembre. Go ahead and pause the video for a second and see if you can come up with the statement answers for those questions. Ready, pause. Muy bien. Let's see now if we can give these phone numbers for these different people. We're going to say them as single digits, so we'll go through and say, for example, Miguel, 239-4289. Go ahead and pause and see if you can do Javier through Amalia. Then I'll go through them and you can hear what they sound like. Javier, 239-1293. Roberta, 3-12-89-24. Juana, 498-23-54. Luisa, 2-3-4-59-39. Amalia, 3-93-24-36. So, the numbers are also useful to talk about how many or how much of something exist. We can ask questions like, ¿Cuántos hombres hay en la clase? ¿Cuántos is referring to how many in a masculine form. Hombres, men. Hay, is there or are there in the class. ¿Cuántos hombres hay en la clase? Hay blank hombres en la clase. So if there were 10 boys in the class or 10 guys, we would say, hay 10 hombres en la clase. ¿Cuántas clases tienes en FSW? Yo tengo 3 clases en FSW. ¿Cuántas mujeres hay en la clase? Hay, let's say, 12 mujeres en la clase. Hay 12. Remember, hay, which sounds like your eyeball, means both there is and there are. There's no other verb needed. Hay 12 mujeres en la clase. ¿Cuántos días hay en una semana? Hay 7 días en una semana. ¿Cuántos días hay en un mes? Hay 30 días en un mes. ¿Cuántos profesores hay en la clase de español? Hay un profesor. Remember, when we go back to counting, we say 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through. However, when uno is going to go next to a noun, like the word profesor, the O disappears and it becomes un profesor. If it were feminine, it would take on the feminine form and say una profesora. ¿Cuántas maletas tienes? How many suitcases do you have? Yo tengo 2 maletas. ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? Yo tengo 2 hermanos. Un hermano, una hermana. One brother, one sister. I'm going to go ahead and read to you some math equations. Don't go on to the next screen until you finished and see how well you can do these. Write them down, numbers 1 through 10. I'll say 1, and then I'll read you the equation. Here we go. 1. 3 más 4 son 7. 2. 9 menos 6 son 3. 3. 15 más 8 son 23. 4. 27 menos 14 son 13. 5. 19 más 9 son 28. 6. 24 menos 14 son 10. 7. 17 más 9 son 26. 8. 29 menos 28 es 1. 9. 11 más 17 son 28. 10. 26 menos 17 son 9. So these were the equations as I read them. Go ahead and check your work, see how well you did. Remember, más means more or addition, menos is subtraction, and we're going to use the word son as our equals. So 3 más 4 son 7. If you were to do these equations on your own, see what you could come up with. Go ahead and pause the video, and when you're finished, check your work on the next screen. Here's what we see. 2 más 5 son 7. 13 menos 8 son 5. 10 más 4 son 14. 9 más 7 son 16. 15 menos 6 son 9. 11 más 9 son 20. 7 menos 4 son 3. 24 más 3 son 27. 17 menos 5 son 12. 8 más 13 son 21. Bueno amigos, esto es todo. Muchas gracias y adiós.